Welcome back. You're still tuned into Midcap Radar on CNBC-TV18, where Antony Waste Handling reported a good set of Q2 earnings. Revenue growth was led by collection and transportation segment. EBITDA margin also expanded by 210 basis points. CFO of the company, NG Subramanian, is joining us now to discuss the numbers and the growth outlook going forward. The stock is high by 15% on a good set of numbers as well. Mr. Subramanian, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy Dhanteras and Diwali to everyone at the company as well. Well, it looks like a good Diwali. The numbers are good. The stock is high by 14%. But can you give us a sense of what the overall picture is like? What will you end the year with in terms of revenue growth and margins as well? Because you have seen a good improvement this time around. So 24 to 25%, is that something which is sustainable?
Hi, best wishes for the festivals. We are very positive. The kind of growth that we are seeing is led by core operating growth of around 20-25% on the tonnages thing. That is something that we are sure can sustain over the next couple of years, at least based on the contracts that we have. Margin outlook, yes, this is the time that we are actually been betting over the last couple of years that the escalation was not getting passed through, and now those are coming through. So the margin on the core operating front will be stabilized around 22 to 24%. Despite inflationary trends in crude and your prices of labor supply costs coming in, we are still comfortable with this kind of a margin outlook. So a 20-25% growth on the core operating margin over the next couple of years with a stable margin the way it is something that the company is pretty confident of.
And what about on the top line? You've done about a 12.5% growth. H2, what's the outlook on the top line?
It should be similar because we are in the annuity kind of a business, so the tonnages keep on growing. Additionally, we already bagged a couple of new contracts, so that will give you additional impetus to the top line. So the 3 contracts that we bagged, the 2 power shipping contracts and the contract with the Panvel Municipal Corporation, will start kicking in from the end of Q3, and this will reflect in Q4. So that will give a better H2 number. Also, the sale of power from a waste to energy has started from 2nd of October. So that will be an additional revenue growth on the core operating front. So the H2 will be better than H1. Fingers crossed.
So just can you tell us what will be the annual revenues from the 3 new contracts that you won?
I would say that it would be in the range of around, for the 4 months of revenue, we will be looking at around at least 35 odd crores of revenue. So that is an incremental kind of push that's likely to come from these 3 contracts.
4 months. So about 100 crores on an annual basis from the 3 new contracts?
And also from the waste to energy project put together. So all these things are the incremental revenue that will be coming in the second half of the year, over and above the first half.
Mr. Subramanian, can you give us a sense of what the yields were like in Q2? What is it going to be like in Q3 and Q4? Because the last known number is around 2,400 rupees per ton. And you said MMR, NCR regions have high yield on tonnages. So first the split, where is most amount of this yield is coming from? And what is the outlook here?
So the outlook for us is basically dependent upon the inflationary cost. If the labor cost increases by X percentage, that's the kind of yield that's going to increase. So that's a direct flip-in from the escalation trend. So any change in fuel costs or your escalation kind of gets reflected into a higher push-up to the yield in that effect. Historically, we have seen at least a 5 to 7% increase in our yields consistently. New contracts come with a higher cost because the vehicle costs are increasing on a year-on-year basis. So those definitely will come at a higher yield than what it is being done today.
So any contracts that have run off or you've lost, I'm guessing your contracts are for a particular time period, 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
So any contracts which have run off, which could negatively impact your growth in the coming quarters?
No, so actually there are 2 contracts which are already on extension for us, which contribute to less than 5% of my revenue. Those are coming up for bidding, and we have got a 80% chance of getting that back. And we don't see those contracts coming up for re-tendering in the next 18 months at least. So for the next 18 months, my revenue is pretty much in the bank. New tenders will come, and it takes anywhere between 6 to 12 months after that for the assets to be mobilized. So my revenue visibility is pretty stable for the next 12 to 24 months comfortably. And then the new tenders, and that's a high probability that the company might back those again because we are in the same geography, gives us a confidence that the yields will be better than what we are doing today in those 2 contracts especially.
Okay, all right. So I just wanted to understand the payment mechanism as well here, Mr. Subramanian. How does it work and how much time do you get your payments? And who is the biggest client or the customer that you have? Who are the others? Is it largely BMC or there are some private contractors as well here?
No, so the biggest client for us is the MMR region, which is part of your BMC, your Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation, your Thane Municipal Corporations of the lot. 32% of our revenue comes from the MMR region, followed by around 20% from our NCR region. So those are our big clients over here. The receivable cycles are different for different municipalities depending upon their payment cycle, but the MMR regions are pretty efficient. The DSOs are less than 40 in that particular region. The NCR is slightly delayed. We get it around 55 to 60 days. So it's different for different pockets. On a weighted average, we would be looking at around 70 odd, 75 kind of a number on the DSOs. The reason the DSOs looks extended is primarily because as a tender condition, a percentage of revenue is kept as retention, which is released to the company at the end of the contract. This is a tender norm. So this is very similar to most of the government contracts, where a few percentage of the revenue is kept on hold and released back to the operator at the end of the tenure of the project. So there is a lumpiness which gets attached, and then the entire thing gets released in one final year.
Okay. All right. Take that point, Mr. Subramanian. Thank you so much for joining us today and detailing those numbers and, more importantly, what your plans are going forward as well. That's the word on Antony Waste Handling. The stock is higher by 14%.